Okay, so imagine this. You're told to build a super modern, profitable company. The catch? Your foundation is nothing but rust, rot, and complete ruin. Well, that was the insane challenge handed to América Latina Logistic, or ALL, and this is the story of how they turned a national disaster into an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah, this is the story of all. They looked at Brazil's completely collapsing state-owned railway system, and where everyone else saw a liability, a total money pit, they saw the opportunity of a lifetime. Their goal was, nothing short of audacious, to build the entire logistics backbone for one of the world's biggest agricultural exporters pretty much from scratch.
And that's the real question, right? How on earth do you pull that off? Because this was never just about laying down some new track. It was about ripping out an ancient, broken culture, inventing a totally new business model, and completely reinventing what a railroad could even be in South America.
To really get why ALL's success is so remarkable, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the mess they inherited. Seriously, this wasn't a fixer-upper. This was a total demolition job. The numbers you're seeing here, they tell a story of just catastrophic failure. An operating ratio over 140%, that means for every single dollar the railway earned, it spent $1.40. You don't need to be a finance wizard to know that's a one-way ticket to bankruptcy. The trains themselves crawled at less than 20 kilometers an hour, literally choking the country's economy. And a workforce of 40,000 people? It was completely bloated. This wasn't just a broken company. It was a brake pedal slammed to the floor on the entire Brazilian economy.
So how in the world do you fix something that broken? Well, it's not by just throwing money at it. The answer was to bring in a radical new way of thinking, a management philosophy that was totally alien to the world of state-run companies.
They used what's called the GP Investimentos model. Now think about this. Imagine having to justify every single penny in your budget, from zero, every single year. That's what they did. Your pay wasn't based on how long you'd been there. It was tied directly to how well you performed. And every single dollar they invested had to make a real, measurable return. It was a culture shock of epic proportions.
In those early days, this wasn't about growth or making huge profits. It was pure survival mode. Job 1, stop the financial bleeding and just get the trains to run on time. Job 2, renegotiate all the old labor deals and create a team that was actually accountable. And job 3, and this was crucial, lock in contracts with big clients to guarantee some cash was coming in the door. Everything else just had to wait.
All right, so once the company was stable, once they stopped sinking, it was time to switch from defense to offense. They kicked off this phase of really aggressive, super strategic growth and made a series of moves that would turn them into an absolute titan.
This timeline really shows you the playbook. In 2001, they bought Delara, a trucking company. Why? Suddenly they're multimodal. They can control the whole journey, road and rail, from the farm to the ship. So smart. The 2004 IPO was huge. It showed the world they were a serious, well-run company and opened the doors to global money. But then came two moves that were complete game changers.
I love this quote. Someone called their deal with the agricultural giant Bungie a financing instrument disguised as a logistics agreement. And that just nails it. On the surface, yeah, it was about moving grain. But underneath, it was a brilliantly crafted financial tool that secured the company's entire future.
23 years. Let that sink in. By getting a massive global player like Bungie to commit for over 2 decades, AAL suddenly had a guaranteed, predictable stream of revenue. And you know who loves guaranteed revenue? Banks. This contract was basically a golden ticket that allowed them to borrow all the money they needed for their biggest move yet.
And that move was the Brazil Ferrovias acquisition. This was the masterstroke. It totally transformed the company. It took ALL from being just a regional player down in the south and turned them into the undisputed logistics backbone for Brazil's entire agricultural heartland. They now controlled the main artery connecting the farms to the ports. It was a checkmate move.
But, no great story is without a crisis. AL's grand ambitions were about to slam head-on into political reality, and that collision would change the company forever.
Then came the shock. In what was really a sudden political move, the Argentine government just took over ALL's operations in the country, nationalized them. And just like that, the dream of a rail network that stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific was gone. It was a massive, massive blow. So this put ALL in a really tough spot. On one hand, they just lost a huge chunk of their network. On the other, they were still dealing with the massive debt from buying and fixing up Brazil Ferrovias.
This double whammy of financial pressure made them vulnerable, and it really set the stage for the company's final chapter.
And that's when another giant enters the picture. Cosan. They're a massive sugar and ethanol producer, and they were one of AFOL's biggest customers. For them, the logic was super simple. Why pay someone else a fortune to ship our products when we could just own the railway ourselves? So they acquired AFL. It was a classic move of vertical integration, taking control of your own supply chain.
So what's the legacy here? Well, the company ALL was absorbed, but the network it built is now thriving as its successor, a company called Rumo. And just look at the growth. More trains, more wagons, and an absolutely staggering amount of freight being moved every year. The physical backbone that ALL so painstakingly rebuilt from the ruins is now stronger and more essential to Brazil than ever.
And the story is far from over. Rumo is now taking ALL's original idea, that simple mission to follow the grain, and they're executing it on a scale that would have been completely unimaginable back in the late 90s.
Rumo's strategy today is basically ALL's original playbook, just supersized. They're pushing the railway deeper and deeper into the farmland, they're buying up port terminals to own the entire supply chain, and they're expanding beyond just grain to move all sorts of other cargo.
And this number right here says it all. 743 kilometers. That's the length of a brand new railway they're building right now. It is the single largest private railway project in all of South America. That's the ultimate proof that the vision born from all that rust and ruin is still powering the future of logistics in Brazil.
From total collapse to a continental powerhouse, the story of ALL is just an amazing lesson in how a disciplined vision can literally transform a nation's infrastructure. And as Brazil's agricultural engine keeps roaring, that iron backbone that ALL rebuilt will be there to carry the load. Which really leaves just one question: what new frontiers will it conquer next?